Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Diaz. Me and Will are back again for another spectacular Marvel Plus talk. Today, we're going to discuss, of course, a 60th anniversary talk on Hulk, or the Incredible Hulk himself. Not to be confused with the 2008 film, just the overall character and everything else. And of course, later on, we're going to discuss the 2003 and Lee Hulk. So, Will, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Uh, so excited that it's the Super Bowl and we got a chance to see two Marvel trailers recently. So we saw the Doctor Strange one and quick thoughts about that.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of cool stuff going on. Some cool, trippy visuals. Sam Raimi getting back to his horror roots.
Shocking. I was kind of surprised. Because the first teaser, right, that came after No Way Home, it was like very tame.
Mm-hmm.
But this just it was like, oh my god, this is definitely Sam Raimi's film. I think you saw the somewhat summified Doctor Strange that's towards the end of this trailer, and then I think a brief glimpse of the dead zombie Wanda. So I was like, oh my god, this is definitely Sam Raimi, and oh my god, and and the Easter eggs is crazy. Oh my god, it's just before the recording, I mentioned the Ultron drones, and then Patrick Stewart maybe in this trailer. Oh my god, it's so exciting. I haven't just heads up, I haven't seen the new Night trailer yet, so I'm excited to see that when we get done with this podcast. So but anyway, that's not. So just want to notify people about that. That we have seen that trailer, and so that's pretty cool. But jumping into our main topic, so Will, is the Hulk your favorite character in the Marvel universe, or do you have a strong feeling with the character like I do? So go ahead.
No, I wouldn't say I do. I've never really read any of the Hulk specific comics, so he's really more of a secondary character in the things that I've read. There's not too much that's ever stood out about him for me, but I know there's potential there. I'm sure there's a Hulk story out there that I would really connect with. I just haven't read it.
Yeah. I think the obvious one, just the Frank Miller Daredevil run, or the Chris Claremont 16-year X-Men stuff. Peter David run is I think the definitive definitive run that has defined the Hulk. We'll get into later that with Peter David, he's the one that set up the whole color personality of Hulk. He's actually the reason we got the Gray Hulk in the comics.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it came from, and and he created a couple of things for the Hulk. I'm trying to. Yeah, so he wrote the first appearance of the Thunderbolts. That was in the Incredible Hulk issue 449, January 1997. So yeah, and when we get into the what I say the Ang Lee Hulk, his run is the major influence of the screenwriters when they're developing this, developing the version of the Hulk we're gonna get in the 2003 film. So the father, of course, played by Nick Nolte, that's from the comic books, and obviously they did kind of the Whiplash thing of combining him to a Sorry-Man, another Marvel character. Yeah.
Isn't David Banner the name of the main character from the old TV show?
That Oh my god. That one is so weird. He is called Bruce Banner in the show.
Oh, okay.
And let me double check that because it's just such a weird thing. I Yeah, so he's called Bruce Banner. I guess the Bruce is the middle name, and David is his like actual name. Because
Okay.
apparently, from like Stan Lee, whenever we get like a document about the show or the history of Hulk, he mentioned that because the name Bruce Banner sounded gay. Apparently, uh,
Interesting.
oh, so you didn't know this? Okay.
No, and it must be like an old timey thing because I have no idea how that would be the
Yeah,
case. But
yeah. It's so it's so weird. It's been a while for me to hear like the story of this. Like Stan just told like the producer, whoever in the NBC television stuff, like just like there was like a percent, like a was it perspective or percentage that the name Bruce was just like a gay name, and so they changed it to David to not make it like he was like gay, and I don't. It was just so bizarre. Um, I think I think the Edward Norton, he has a name David, so like that was a reference to the Incredible Hulk. But anyway, so very crazy, like just bizarre information from the Incredible Hulk show. Oh, and I guess let's jump to that. Did you seen the show, Will, the Incredible Hulk show?
no, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Um, Intriguing. Okay. It's I seen a couple of it. I seen actually one TV movie of it. That's where they had Thor. Um, and it's quite fascinating. Like Daredevil and Kingpin first appear in the TV movie of the Hulk. And the one I'm talking about that's the trial of the Incredible Hulk. That's where Daredevil and Kingpin is,
Right.
and that's like
Mhm.
the first movie he wears the black costume. This is before the Netflix show, so that Charlie Cox wore the black costume. No, it was actually the TV movie. That's where that came from, and somehow influence that into like the Jeff Loeb Daredevil, yeah, right, like little story that he did like in the 90s, something like that. Um, yeah, so let's kind of get into that. Like the Incredible Hulk show ran from 1978 to 82, and it spawned like a couple of TV movies to try to bring it back for like another additional series or something like that. It has three. One called The Incredible Hulk Returns, which that has the Thor character I mentioned, and just FYI, the Thor there, they actually used the Donald Blake persona,
Mhm.
but it's separate. Like Thor is actually a physical person, and where we actually have a character that is Donald Blake, and he has the hammer, and like he summons him, like just himself, not like him transforming as Thor, like in the comics.
Mhm.
So very weird. Um, and then of course I mentioned just like a little bit the trial of the Incredible Hulk. There, that second TV movie is Banner in a trial because he saw a crime that was connected to Wilson Fix, aka Kingpin, and this is where we get our first appearance of Daredevil. And I mentioned before, this is the first one that does the black costume that you will see in the Charlie Cox first season of Daredevil, and of course he does put that again in the third and final season of the Netflix show. And yeah, so and then the third and final TV movie, the death of the Incredible Hulk. As you can understand the title, he dies, and this is going to be the last time you're going to see Bill Bixby. Of course, he unfortunately was not doing well, and he unfortunately passed away in 1993. So, so I highly recommend this series, and personally, I think you should watch this, Will, because this is the definitive like Hulk version. It's always like the '60s Batman, or Batman the animated series, or the Lincoln Carter show. This show was very influential, like especially how grounded it did and how it delved into the psychology of the Hulk, like him being alone and running away from the authority instead of the military. Just and one thing you do notice is obviously the MCU film, of course, the Edward Norton. I mentioned briefly, like it was influenced the TV show, like it was influenced from the show, like the Man on the Run thing, like the fugitive. And if you see one sequence, whenever we get to the Incredible Hulk movie to discuss that as a podcast, there's a music section that is from the show. And obviously, if you guys know this theme song from the Incredible Hulk, this is the Lonely Man theme. And so it got a very nice nod to for this show. So it was great. When I caught that again, I was like, oh my god, the Lonely Man theme. And obviously, I mentioned Bill Pixie. He also had like a cameo in the MCU film where like there was like when Banner was flipping the channel and he was learning Spanish. You see a brief moment of Bill Pixie in TV.
Okay.
That's the one. It was some woman slapping a person. That was Bill Bixby. Yeah. So that was a great way to honor this actor. And of course, Lou Ferrigno. Of course, he's a big contributor for the Hulk. He's the main voice. Like he does the voice for the Hulk when he's like in the Hulk form. Mm-hmm. And honestly, he has 2 cameos in the live action films, which
I noticed the one in this one.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that cameo. I love when he say, "Hello, good morning, Dr. Banner," by Stan Lee. I love that. So like that's another big influence you see from the show. And then what else? And just it's this show. It's when I mentioned like the Lincoln Carter show, the Adam West show, and also the George Reeves. This was Marvel's big success outside of the comics. Before the cartoons and before the major motion pictures. After Blade and the mid 2000s and with the other franchise coming, this was like the big huge success for Marvel outside of Medium. Like obviously, I'm not mentioning the live action Spider-Man show, but that just didn't took off. And then it didn't. And there was one for Doctor Strange, but that unfortunately didn't pick up because for some reason CBS thought we didn't want to be known as the superhero network because they pick up Wonder Woman season 2 and 3. After I think ABC didn't want to continue that because it was too expensive because they were doing the World War II setting as it was from the golden age of comics of Wonder Woman. So yeah, so this was a huge deal, and like and you do see this continue throughout the Hulk's history, how the TV show influenced everything, and including the movies and the cartoon in the 90s. So I'm kind of shocked you haven't seen this show. Did you like? Do you know like what was like the first thing you kind of heard from the show? Like, did you knew that Lou Ferrigno was from the show?
Yeah, I knew he played the Hulk. I knew that the character was named David Banner in the show. I'd seen the pictures of Daredevil and Thor.
Oh yes, you did.
Yeah.
Thor. What are you gonna do? It's TV budget, right? But the Daredevil one, it's like it's kind of weird that like this was the black costume, and it was never. This was not from the comics. It was actually from this.
Mm.
So it was kind of it's kind of like Batgirl, Barbara Gordon was created exclusively for the '60s show, and then she got into the comics. Like this was exclusively created for the for the TV movie, because I don't know how you pull off the red costume, honestly. I mean, it could have been silly, but like this was a good, balance. Um, and one last thing about the show that I do want to know, unlike some shows, this producer of this famous one called Kenneth Johnson, he was never into big comics. He was never this big supporter of comic book stuff, and he wasn't fond of this stuff. So a lot of things were not in the show, like Betty and General Ross was not in the show.
Mhm.
So let's let you know that. And there was just this one recurring character that he made for the show was Jack McGeek. He was like a reporter that was following the was it the sights of the Hulk, you know. But one thing I did quite like about the TV show that I kind of wish the movies take from this, and it's like the reason the Hulk becomes the Hulk. So, and I know you haven't seen the show, but spoilers for like the pilot, if you've seen the 2-part pilot for the first season.
Mhm.
So this version of the Bruce Banner, or David Banner, you want to call it, he was married. He was married with a wife. He was also like a physician scientist, and unfortunately, something happened. Unfortunately, they kind of, I think, had a car accident, and so his wife passed away. And so, one of the reason he does the gamma radiation is because he wanted to improve the human condition, trying to do a superhuman formula to make people be stronger and not to die. Because this is kind of like the Batman thing of like he wants to prevent another death that is like for your loved one. So that's why he starts. That's why he did the gamma radiation experiments. Unfortunately, that's how he becomes the Hulk, and it's bookend. Like it hits the home the idea, because when he starts forming, when he does his first transformation of the Hulk, he's trying to lift a car because that's the thing that killed his wife, the car accident. And so it's very cool that why he becomes the Hulk is more personal, because when you get to the movies, they don't. I have this problem where like why he becomes the Hulk is never like you never get by with the Hulk, because he's not like so relatable. And when we get into the Hulk movie, one of the big problems is they go too dark and too psychological, and it gets too downbeat for me. And that's where it's kind of hard for me to get into the character. Is that the same for you?
Yeah. Yeah, it felt weird to have the like big muscle guy try to have like a very philosophical story.
Mm.
Um,
Yes. Yeah. It worked with the Pierre David, because well, it started from this writer Bill Bounty, where he brings up the idea of Banner's child abuse that you that's like famous for this character. And then that's where Peter David explored that more, and like it's kind of like the Two-Face thing, where the Hulk actually, like, Bruce had like another split personality, but it become more manifest when he becomes the Hulk. So it gets into more of that in that run. So because before the Hulk becomes the the Hulk, it was always like, oh, he becomes a brute monster. It was nothing psychological, and
Mhm.
and you never knew he had like a was the Hulk split, personality, like was he different from the Banner form,
Mhm.
like so Peter David and the writer I mentioned before who brought the idea of Chai Bruce and like a psychological split personality is from the 80s, and it works there, but at the same time, one of the things that Peter David does well with the psychological thing, he keeps it still the fun comic book like action packed, from the comics, and like he meshes well, like how Batman does it, where the writers keep the psychological or dark themes, but at the same time they know this is still the fun and goofy comics.
Mhm.
And that's the problem. Sometimes I feel like we don't balance that right with the Hulk sometimes in medium, like the MCU one, where they struggle with the darkness of the Hulk, and then they go too far with the goofiness.
Yeah.
And so that's the big thing. But so uh, I think what's just kind of cool. I like how I like the initial creation for this character. I like how what is it? Lee and Kirby trying to make a monster as a hero, and he has that like very classic Frankenstein monster, and later on when we did the split personality, he becomes more like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde allegory, and so I really enjoy this character that way because I like how he's the most tragic hero we have for the Marvel universe. I'm gonna say the MCU. Oh my god. Oh my god. Uh, so I guess we can talk about that. Do you know his supporting characters? Besides the obviously ones.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know Betty and Ross.
Mm,
I know the guy that becomes A-Bomb. What's his name? Uh,
Avon. Hold on.
he wasn't. He's usually not. Uh, he doesn't usually have powers.
Wait, Rick Jones?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and was it Doc Salmon? The
Yeah.
the other character that has green hair.
Hmm.
I never knew he was like a Hulk character, and he's in the Incredible Hulk. Actually,
Yeah,
he
played by
the
oh
actor
man.
from Modern
Yeah,
Family.
yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm remembering the actor's name or his character's name. Hold on. Yeah, Ty Burrell. That's the
Yes.
actor's name.
Yeah. Very cool. I love they did that. It was so fun.
Hmm.
But like, and it was so sad that we didn't get that afterwards. Oh my god.
Yeah. It'd
um,
be weird if Ty Burrell was running around with
green hair.
green hair
Yes.
and huge muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you fit him if you don't have the Hawk movies? Like, I, I, I don't understand that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think we wouldn't get him without more Hulk movies.
well, I guess I want to get into like the other character, the other supporting character that's more famous, and this is the the next Hulk thing we're gonna get is She-Hulk, and
Hmm.
if we're gonna get more She-Hulk stuff, like I think they're gonna do is like the Rhodey and like Hulk thing. They're gonna recast it. It makes sense, Um, because like yes, we're bringing Ross, but like I feel like they kind of reinvent Ross in Civil War and like onwards.
Hmm.
And so I think Doc Salmons is going to be more different. It's going to be more the comic actor, right, and not the one from the '08 film.
Hmm.
Um, and then we mentioned Barry Ross. What's your opinion on Barry Ross? Do you like her as a love interest, or you're kind of like vanilla with her?
I mean, again, I'm not too familiar with the comics.
Okay.
Um, I kind of liked her in the 2003 movie.
Okay. Played by Jennifer Connelly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I she's actually the best thing about the movies, and I
Yeah, she was my favorite thing about the 2003 movie when I was watching it this week.
oh cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that her and Sam Elliott were great in that film. That was like
Mm-hmm.
the best thing I like about that film as well.
It's weird to see Sam Elliott with short hair, though. I don't know. I'm used to seeing him look like he did in The Big Lebowski.
Oh my god, yes. I mean, he's military, right? But it's also weird. Like, it's more weird. Like, he's in Ghost Rider, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh my god, he's in 2 other Marvel movies, and oh my god, can't believe that. And I saw Ghost Rider in theaters, the first one.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, innocent times for me. But yes, yeah, I really like Dr. Betty Ross. I think she's very important character. Well, I I think her father is pretty cool. I like it's kind of like the opposite of Lois Lane a little bit, and like she's more like I don't know the Frankenstein's wife's name, or I don't know who is kind of similar. Like she's kind of like this person caught in the middle, and like she's trying to be proactive and trying to help Banner in this situation. And at the same time, her father, Thunderbolt Ross, is trying to capture the Hulk and use him for weapon, you know, uh, experiments and exploitation, that. And I don't know. It's very intriguing. I like it's well explored so well in the '90s show. Did you see the '90s show? Of the Incredible Hulk.
No.
Okay, the animation one I'm talking about. So okay. So I highly recommend seeing that in Disney Plus, because that one is also good too. Because the first season is so dark. It's kind of like Gargoyles meets Batman a little bit, and yeah, and then the second season is a little more lighter, because it's more lighter, it's more comic book, and it also has She-Hulk, and so it's pretty cool, and she's great in that. She-Hulk is amazing. And you were aware of She-Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's also another thing I like about the Hulk. I do like Jennifer Walters. I'm very excited for her show, in this year or whatever that's going to be released.
It's this year.
This year.
Probably the one after Moon Knight, I think.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. Because I mean, I definitely want to see She-Hulk right away, because I love that character. I think it's a great like spin-off character that's like the polar opposite of the character. Like instead of out of control, like she cannot control the form of the Hulk, like she's in control, and it's kind of like the Spider-Man thing, where like Spider-Man is confident in the costume, where when he's Peter Parker without the costume, he's not confident. Here it's like that with Jennifer Walters, and that's one of the things I love about the She-Hulk, is that she's like in control of the powers, and like she's confident. I love that, and she has this like southern like sass that reminds me of Rogue from the X-Men. So, oh my god, she's so great. And then I want to kind of like discuss a little bit about his Rose Gallery. Do you know the obvious ones from the Rose Gallery?
No, Leader, Absorbing Man,
Yeah.
Abomination, Red Hulk.
Yeah.
Who is Thunderbolt Ross.
And then
Talbot's.
yeah, Talbot is the main villain.
Yeah.
And then who? Well, there was the other one. Gargoyle. He's another villain
Okay.
that is the Hulk. Um, yeah, he has like a very small rogues gallery. Um, it's kind of like the classic thing. Like he has his own, but then he has some that are like from the Marvel universe, like Juggernaut and um, what else? Actually, his father is the villain, but it's named a different character. He's named Brian Banner in
Okay.
the comics because yes, okay, now I remember this. I'm looking at the Wikipedia because so his name is changed to David Banner. That's in the movie. He's
Hmm.
the father. So they reference the show. Did you use the David name for the villain of the movie that we're going to discuss? That's so weird. Um, anyway, and so like he's also another villain, and he's from the Peer David run. Like, so he's very important. And I'm just looking at other characters that I'm trying to remember, like their major. Because it's been a while for me. Man, he's another character from the comics. He's the brother of the leader, so
Mm.
pretty awesome character. And yeah, and the Abomination we mentioned before. But yeah, no, not too much of like a crazy rules gallery. The Hulk has so but anyway, so we get to that point, and then we get into the live action stuff. So let's get into that because I think this is where we're a little more familiar. Um, uh, Out of the three actors we have, Eric Bana, Edward Norton, and then of course Mark Ruffalo. Did you say from previous podcasts? Did you say Edward Norton is your favorite, or was it Mark Ruffalo in the early Avengers films? Like,
I think I don't think I've said anything before, but I think I prefer Mark Ruffalo.
okay, yeah, before Thor Ragnarok and Avengers: Infinity War and all that
Yeah,
goofiness.
I mean that's not Mark Ruffalo's fault though.
That's true. Yeah, I blame Marvel for that.
Yeah.
Well, I blame Russo Brothers. I don't know what. I mean, you have the Hulk. He's a cool character. He can smash stuff. I mean, like how hard you can use that character. And I was lied to in the trailers. Like he was in the bio for Wakanda, and like we didn't get that. I'm like, really? Oh my god. So
Yes.
and and of course comparing that to Edward Norton and Eric Bana, what's your opinion on those two performers before Raphael took over the role? Um, I like things about Eric Bana and Edward Norton. I just wish they had better material to go with.
Yeah. Yeah, they were both good. I liked Eric Bana in this film.
Yes.
Edward
Oh,
Norton, I thought he was good too. His depiction reminded me of the Bruce Banner from Earth's Mightiest Heroes a little bit.
oh yes. Yeah, he has that like what I like about him. He has that like skinny
Yeah.
like physique that's from the comics, but also from what you say, no, the
Hmm.
cartoon Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Yeah, that's the reason I like about Edward Norton because of that.
Hmm.
I just like how he's very soft spoken and like he's like a introvert, but when he turns around into the Hulk, he's like this aggressive monster. And
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, not an introvert, but I don't know, like
No, I know what you mean. That's why I like Mark Ruffalo's performance, because Mark Ruffalo, just as a person, seems very like relaxed and
mm, yeah.
yeah. So him turning into the Hulk is like a complete 180. Whereas I can see Edward Norton snapping. Like
Yes.
he doesn't seem
Yeah.
like it's completely antithetical to his personality to be a enormous green rage monster.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that's true. I yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Like my favorite moment from Mark Ruffalo is in his first interaction with Black Widow, and like he's very calm, and then
mhm,
you find he was angry, but he was actually testing her if she was she was ready, like she was good to defend herself from the Hulk
yeah.
when he say like stop lying to me. And
Mhm,
man, that scene got when I saw that in theaters, I was like, whoa. And
mhm,
like that made me very like, okay, I like you in that
yeah.
moment as the Hulk, Bruce Banner. Um, I just wish he had a film, Mark Ruffalo. I wish we got more of his I like his portrayal of Bruce Banner. Like he has that like troubled soul, like he's like a tragic person because of what's happened to him, but at the same time he's very proactive and he wants to help in his form as a human, not the Hulk. And like it works well in the first Avengers film, but then it's like you have other characters to focus on, and it's like I just wish he had like his own solo film, to get more of that.
Mhm,
Ugh. And then you mentioned the cartoon. I think I think it's not like too obvious, but I think the Earth's Mightiest Heroes is definitely the more definitive version of the Hulk. I like that version. Um, I always love the scene where I think the Master is Evil attacks the Avengers in the mansion, and like the Hulk is watching TV, and he's like stupid TV, eating popcorn.
mhm,
Oh, that cracks me up. And I love his um relationship with the Hawkeye in that show.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my god, great pairing. And I kind of wish the MCU kind of done that. I think that could be a good pairing, but
Yeah, I think the movies, just because they're movies, they miss out on a lot of the character interactions since they only have 2.5 hours to tell their story. They
yeah,
can't have those like quieter moments as often.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. But it's kind of intriguing because the pairing that I never expected in the Avengers was the Hulk and Tony relationship. Like,
Hmm.
because like, I mean, I was never Avengers reader, but like, because Bruce is always in the Hulk form, or he's never in the Avengers books as long as some other members are.
Hmm.
Um, and you're thinking to yourself, well, like a Tony and Bruce Banner conversation or collaboration could have been the most obvious thing to write do. And Whedon, I don't like Whedon. He's horrible, but like when he did the first Avengers, like it was actually neat. He put Hulk or Bruce and Tony together. Like I never really thought that pairing, and like that's the one of the most best and unexpected pairings of a comic movie. That's never from the comics. Like I actually like their relationship.
Hmm.
And they're the ones that created the Ultron too. Like they're the first, you know, Hulk and Iron Man are the founders of the MCU. You know, and it's cool that they created the evil villain Ultron.
Hmm.
But I like that pairing, and Marvel does do a good job with pairings of characters, but like it's not the one you're expecting. Like I well, what was other pairing that was kind of unexpected that I like Strange and Stark, I guess that's a good one. Um, and then Spider-Man for Iron Man somewhat, but I still think the Tony and Banner like pairing was just so genius, and like it's actually the most iconic thing from the first Avengers film. Um, but yes. So, do you have anything else to say for the 60th anniversary talk, and we'll get into the movie? Um, you know, uh, before we go into the Anne Lee Hulk film.
I mean, I guess it's a great design for a character. Just like the big green guy with the purple shorts. It's pretty iconic.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, did you know he? Did you know that that wasn't his first design?
yeah, I
Um.
know that he
Okay.
was originally supposed to be
Gray.
gray, right? But then there was a problem with the color in the printer.
Yes.
Um, so the gray looked green, and then they just kind of rolled with that.
Yeah. Um. That's yeah, and then it's kind of cool that Pierre David brought it back, the
Hmm.
gray, and it made it into his own thing. So that's very cool. I guess the big question, and this is something when we get into the Hulk movies later on. Do you think the Hulk works as like a standalone, like a solo character, or is he better with team ups? Go. Like,
I mean, it depends on how you're depicting the Hulk.
okay.
Like, I think you can have solo movies. It's just when the main character is just like a big brute, uh, it's not as interesting. So, like, they
Mhm.
need to focus on the banner side more.
Mm,
But then you're paying for a, you know, big budget blockbuster, so you need some skull bashing.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like um, a movie where the Hulk talks more would work. Like,
Mm,
it doesn't have to be Professor Hulk. You could have Hulk talk as much as he did in Thor Ragnarok, and just still have like a personality and be able to use basically full sentences. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I think for me, I think they need to balance tone for the character.
Mm.
When we get into the 2003 film, or is this more into the '08 film of Edward Norton? The tone has been a big problem with these both films. Like my problem with the 2003 film, it's too dark and too like very psychological, and it leaves out like the most important aspect of a blockbuster, like like humor, or I mean, there's humor in the film, but like it's not like as often, like consistently,
Hmm.
and it leaves out the action stuff, like very. I mean, going into the Hulk, I mean, the Hulk is like the most like 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 it's like the most director auteur film that like I haven't seen, and it goes like you can see Ang Lee's control of the film, like from scene one to the last scene, um than any other director in the MCU film or DC or whatever, like it's very director auteur film,
Hmm.
and we'll get into that when I get to the discussion of the movie, but that's one of the problems about the Hawk film in the 2003, and the soft reboot one. And then also like for me, for me, I think he needs more definitive runs. Like I need a writer besides Peter David to kind of shake up his formula. Like we always do the military and like the Ross thing, and it's like, how much are you gonna do that?
Hmm.
Like it's interesting, but it's like kind of the same thing with Superman. It's like how much we're gonna see Lex and General Zod and Kryptonians versus Superman.
Hmm.
Like there's other things you can do with the Hulk. Like
Yeah.
I I feel like that.
What
And
kind of story would you want to see with the Hulk?
well, I think it's kind of tough because he has the like like Superman is like, let me like go there and try to like Superman is a very easy character. He's a classic harsh sci-fi hero. Like you can do cosmic things. You can do like, a grounded, Superman story about him being like a helper to his community, right? But
Hmm.
we go in this other direction that I never respected before. Like for Superman, it's like we're trying to make how important Superman is, and like how he's like this powerful person, like the god imagery of that. I like that, but you can do it subtly, and like tell a engaging story about him saving the world, yeah, like that. Superman movie works because it's a simple story of Superman about a father, trained his son to become him,
Hmm.
and with the Hulk, I feel like it's like it needs to be kind of like Spider-Man, like know how to understand responsibility. Here, it should be more like the Hulk should need to know how to control anger or like control his power that he has now, and
Yeah.
we don't do that in any of the Hulk stories,
Hmm.
I hope I made it clear, but it's kind of tough where you can take the Hulk, and then that's the tough thing because he's a monster. That's another thing because it we like it can lead into any stereotypical thing like a tragic monster story or like um you mentioned brute like a brute action like B level monster,
Hmm.
like that. It's you need to balance that well, and I don't think the Hulk has that, and, I don't know. So that's yeah. Any more discussion with the main character, the Hulk, before we get into the movie? um,